Hi students, welcome to lesson Themes in Agrarian Sociology. Now let us start with the introduction. In this lesson, students are communicated about the concerns incorporated as part of the course. The discussions in the course highlights various issues which are to be debated and is the need of the hour. The themes incorporated are the peasant communities, agrarian social structure, land and its relation, land reforms, green revolution, agrarian transition, agrarian social stratification, changing family structure in rural areas, etc. The course initiated to give a vivid understanding of the picture of agrarian society. Now, let us look into the objectives. The objectives of the lesson are: 1. To know the importance of the course. 2. To examine the themes incorporated in the course. The agrarian studies is occupying the prime importance and emerging areas of research due to the agrarian crisis. The Indian society as we represent it with village life, which is considered to be an old society with its unique culture, and people are hardworking and honest. Now, the society is experiencing the process of new social transformations. The studies on agrarian society give an understanding of the crisis from different angles, such as the opinion of the literate masses for thinking from the agrarian realities becoming marginal. There is a need for quality production of scholarly literature, scientific observations and studies which are the need of the hour. Under such situation, the importance and the task of agrarian studies for undergraduate level is to rejuvenate the ecosystem of literate opinions. Such indications, along with an agrarian crisis, there is also a crisis of agrarian studies. Agrarian studies are important and urgent, as the introduction of a course on agrarian sociology at undergraduate level is to make everyone know the world of agriculture. The reasons for giving importance to agriculture since the past period is to concentrate on the agriculture workforce, ensuring economic growth of the country, which is seen from agriculture, food security, land and its related issues. Above, to all these, students are equipped with the knowledge of our nation's realities, where dominant portion of the people engaged in the history of human civilization shows the agrarian produce consumed and utilized by the other communities, such as the towns and urban areas, who are not actually involved in producing the commodities. The societies are undergoing the transition stage. We cannot expect the communities to remain the same. We also observe the transformation with the agrarian systems. Agriculture is about the arrangements and relations people enter into while engaging in activities that produce whatever they do. Historically, these arrangements are at times entrenched, at times transforming, like all social arrangements. These too are experienced the changes. They generate their own vision of the world and modes of experiencing the world. To be able to engage with that world, one must be able to understand it with empathy. To think about agriculture brings to our senses about the issues of land and its control. Questioning why the peasant might resort to violence over controlling and cultivating a small piece of land, to know the configurations and consequences of social power and inequalities that accrue from the control of the land and labor to understand the peculiarities of the views of life and death. Agriculture is simultaneously the political economy with a global scope and a cosmic drama of the seasons and festivals, and a sense of what is good life and what is bad life. It is in a way the absolute horizon of what we have been since the advent of civilization. When the syllabus for agrarian sociology for BA program set out to design the syllabus, which is the broad vision we wanted to give to the students, after several drafts of the syllabus framework, we have come with a final draft of the course. The primary objective is to able to convey the importance of the study of agrarian realities to a largely urban student population, which emphasizes on few key issues that draw their attention and equip them with the categories and language to apprehend that reality and engage in an informed conversation. At the same time, the course also provides a firm foundation for those who choose to pursue an academic career in sociology as a discipline and take forward their interest in an agrarian world. To speak on the course, which is envisaged as a ground clearing for more advanced courses to be offered in agrarian studies at the master's and research levels. This course is meant to give an idea about the agrarian world. So, first it is an agrarian sociology paper, but the paper also in the first unit highlights on giving an idea about the rural communities, origin of the studies, rural urban differences, and major idea on who is a peasant, understanding the framework of peasant and his life revolving around the land and agriculture. The paper develops the sociological imagination and understanding. Secondly, the paper is designed to be understandable, clear and detailed narrative discussion on different topics. The course makes the student well communicate within the limited stipulated teaching time, provides space for interpretation. The course is framed to give the key theoretical perspectives in agrarian sociology and agrarian realities in general. The intention is to give the students a glimpse of the legacy of the body of work, the application and understanding the emerging issues in agrarian societies through the scholarly sources. The course is divided into sections such as rural society and peasantry, theorizing peasantry, agrarian society, agrarian system and themes in agrarian sociology. The key issues in agrarian society, development concerns in rural society and agrarian future, agrarian reforms and agrarian changes. The first section importance is in the larger scheme of the things. The objective is to give the knowledge of rural sociology, its origin and growth. The paper also discusses on the characteristics of the rural community to give a better understanding of how people in this community leads their life. The first section focuses on conceptualizing peasantry, in which the student will be given the knowledge on peasant and agrarian society. This section gives an idea on agrarian society, peasant and folk urban continuum and rural urban differences. The second section on theorizing peasantry, the section gives a general idea about Karl Marx, Lenin and Chayanov's perspectives of agrarian capitalist development and explanation on the land system. The conditions of peasant are well articulated in these theories. The intent of the perspectives section is to frame the substantive issues in agrarian sociology in a conceptual grid that incorporates significant theoretical positions in a conversation. Each of the perspectives articulates closely with the other. In the first instance, students are introduced to the way the classic agrarian question was posited in the 19th century and evolved through the cataclysmic political and economic events through the 20th century. The attempt is to draw out the configuration, change and dynamics of change of agrarian social orders on a global scale under the sign of capital. The survey focused on macro dynamics of agrarian transition and to micro perspectives with a debate between subsistence oriented family farm production to centered moral economy and utility maximizing rational peasant centered political economy. The pedagogic point of view, the perspective section is constituted as a series of contrasts. The moral economy whose origins could be traced to the work and vision of A.V. Chayanov on the one hand and the other the agrarian capitalist development of Lenin on the other, which stands in sharp contrast to the classical agrarian questions. Similarly, the emphasis on production centered communities in these two perspectives stand in contrast to the circulation centered approach of the commodity chains. The perspectives that also enable us to talk of more recent concerns like environment and global justice in relation to agriculture. This part of the course has been designed to help students understand that each of the perspectives offers a distinct version of agrarian realities, that there are specific substantive concerns that are central to each perspective, which is also allied to certain kinds of political practice, that none of the perspectives was ever stagnant or monolithic, and that there has always been a rich internal debate and constant concern to grapple with changing realities. In a nutshell, these perspectives are presented as live conversations responding to changing agrarian realities across time and space, rather than inert viewpoints. The third section objective is to constitute agrarian societies as an object of the study for a sociological inquiry. The section has a discussion on the agrarian social structure. This is done in various ways. First, by drawing attention to the sheer materiality of agrarian activity and underlining the centrality of that activity for human civilization. By drawing attention to the irreducibly social and collective character of agrarian reality and marking the inherent diversity of agrarian social reality across time and space, and by pointing out the discursive constitution of that reality from diverse scholarly and political perspectives and tentatively drawing out their implications. This section presents several ideas, concepts, themes such as land and patterns of land holding, technology, ecology and material culture, social organization of labor processes, agrarian stratification, and issues of public policy in relation to agriculture to form to the classes. The section of the syllabus that deals with the agrarian scene in India is the longest segment in terms of the number of readings. This section is designed on the premise that agrarian modernity of South Asia could be adequately mapped on a space defined by 5 key axes: the land, labor, market, state and technology. This understanding is then translated into 4 themes: labor and agrarian class structure, markets, land reforms and green revolution, agrarian movements and caste and gender. While each of the themes has a measure of these 5 elements implicit in them, labor and agrarian class structure is primarily about land and labor. It starts with a simple description of types of agrarian labor, the proportion of those kinds of labor in the agrarian order and their historical evolution. It then proceeds to demonstrate how these kinds of labor are locked into each other and kinds of land holding and laboring relations to form a specific mode of production. Simultaneously, students are also introduced to the analytical and comparative questions about the relationship between agrarian structures and agrarian mobilizations. The subsection on the markets, land reforms and green revolution draws attention to the close relationship between the market, state and technology in 20th century agriculture. For the students, the word market represents either an intimate arena for unbridled bargaining or utterly abstract, impersonal and inexorable processes of economics that determine the fate of all. The task is to bring these two imaginations together with adequate representation for peasants' view of the market situation and their sense of vulnerability as a community. The relationship between state and agriculture in India is dealt with by talking about 2 crucial ways in which the post-colonial state attempted to intervene in agrarian transformation at its own initiative: the land reforms and green revolution. The discussions on the land reform focuses largely on the institutional and political context of the initiative and its social consequences. While dealing with the green revolution, the course seeks to take a long-term view by tracing its origin in the technological changes that have been making from the 19th century onwards and then drawing attention to the consequences for agrarian social structures. The third subsection on agrarian movements focuses on the peasantry's collective political negotiation with both state as well as the market. It introduces students to the dynamics of both classical peasant mobilizations as well as new farmers' movements. The fourth subsection handles the questions of identity and agrarian inequality with specific reference to gender and caste, and these are central to the everyday operations of agrarian society in India, but have often been marginalized in conversations about agriculture. The agrarian questions and agrarian economy, the agrarian commodity system, which has been emphasized on land rights and social relations implicit in agrarian labor. The course concludes with a consideration of contemporary predicaments and future prospects for agrarian societies. It is pegged around 2 themes: agrarian crisis and globalization. The attempt here is to draw attention to the structural logic and long-term policy choices on a global scale that constitutes the causative foundations of contemporary agrarian crisis. The aim was to underline that there is nothing natural or inevitable about contemporary agrarian crisis. At the same time, the references are incorporated to show how the crisis manifests among the peasant communities and the catastrophic personal cost for ordinary peasants. Clearly, this scheme is not the only way an introductory narrative about agrarian sociology which might be constructed, but it is definitely not without its share of shortcomings, the inadequacies and the blind spots, but a range of enduring and emerging issues such as the plantation systems, irrigation, auxiliary activities, climate change, seed sovereignty, agribusiness, biofuels. The implications of green revolution, democratic decentralization of power, Panchayati Raj institution are narrated in the course. The other lessons on commercialization and mechanization of agriculture highlight the entry of modernization process in agriculture field. The rural development programs meant to bring development of this area, which is observed as a supportive programs to make them more confident. Some of these issues are sought to be addressed through a carefully chosen list of suggested readings that could form the basis for class presentations and the review projects. More importantly, the hope is that they could be attended to by reimagining evaluation as part of the pedagogic process rather than as a measure of achievement and movement of accreditation that comes after learning process ends. Thus, it is important to have imaginative internal assessments to accompany a course like this. One of the suggestions is to ask the students to maintain a book on agrarian issues for the duration of the course and write an essay around the items they have gathered. The biggest challenge in rolling out the course was to building capacities for transacting it, which can only be a gradual and long-term process. The biggest reward is to see that the course actually works, and in spite of initial apprehension, whatever means student as a collective and individuals come to a course with a range of attitudes and varying degrees of maturity and interest, but are never disinterested in anything or unwilling to learn. The diversity in the themes they found interesting indicates that they could establish a dialogue with the course from their own social and biographical situation. Now, let us sum up. The agrarian studies, which is occupying the prime importance and which is the emerging areas of research due to the agrarian crisis. The Indian society as we represent it with the village life, which is considered to be an old society with its unique culture, and people are hardworking and honest. Now, the society is undergoing the process of new social transformations. The paper discusses the characteristics of rural community to give a better understanding of how people live in these communities. The first section focuses on conceptualizing peasantry, in which the student will be given the knowledge on peasant and agrarian society. The third section has a discussion on the agrarian social structure, which is done in various ways, and first by drawing attention to the sheer materiality of agrarian activity and underlining the centrality of that activity for human civilization. Secondly, by drawing attention to the irreducibly social and collective character of agrarian reality and marking the inherent diversity of agrarian social reality across time and space. Thus, this course enlightens the students the society's primary economic realities.